Hi, I'm going to help you with the baby lab. Here is the baby lab in your Power School, and you can open it up in Cami and edit it using the PDF editor, or you can just print it out and write on the paper. Here are some definitions on a slideshow that will help you understand some of the terms we're going to use in the lab. So one of the first things you're going to do in the lab is you're going to be flipping a coin to see whether your baby is a boy or girl. And hopefully you remember that boys are XY, their sex chromosomes are XY, so they have a Y from their dad and they have an X from their mom. They have 44 other chromosomes, but the last two are your sex chromosomes, and for a boy, it's XY. Here's the XY. For girls, they get an X from their dad and they get an X from their mom. So female sex chromosomes are XX. And again, these are just two of their 46 chromosomes. They get 23 chromosomes total from the mom and 23 chromosomes total from the dad, but one of them is a sex chromosome. So that's what determines the sex of the baby. And so it's actually, the mom is only going to always give an X, but the dad is the one that determines the sex of the child. So we'll be flipping a coin for the dad in a moment. Hopefully this is review for you, but here we have all your chromosomes, and these are the two sex chromosomes. Now, of all your chromosomes, you have two pairs of each one. You get one from your mom and one from your dad. And on each of these chromosomes, you have hundreds of genes that determine different traits about you. They make proteins that produce traits, like your hair color, your eye color. So here are some genes on these two chromosomes. Your parents both give you eye color chromosomes, but they might be different. One might give you a blue-eyed version, and one might give you a brown-eyed version. One might give you a gene that allows you to roll your tongue, and one might give you a gene that allows you to not roll your tongue. So these are genes, but each one is a different version of a gene. So we call these alleles. An allele is just a version of a gene. So it's the brown-eyed gene, but it's the eye color gene, but one is a brown-eyed gene and one is a blue-eyed gene, or we call a blue-eye allele. Okay, and locus is just where the gene is located on the chromosome. Okay, again, an allele is just a version of a gene. And when we write the alleles, so if we write, oh, I have a big B and a big B, or big B and a little b, those letters represent my genotype. And if I talk about what my actual physical appearance is, that I have brown hair or brown eyes, that's my phenotype. Phenotype kind of sounds like physical with the PH. So phenotype is your physical appearance, and genotype looks like genes, which are your alleles. So that's how you're going to remember those two words. Now, alleles can often be dominant or recessive. And when they're dominant, then they show up. So if brown is dominant, we write it as a capital letter, and it's going to always show up. Whenever there's a big B, that cat is going to be brown. Whereas recessive will only show up if there's no dominant. If there's only two recessives, then it will be the recessive allele. It'll look like the recessive allele. But if there's one of each, the dominant one is going to show up and the recessive one is going to hide. So here's some examples. If you have a brown-eyed parent and a blue-eyed parent, they can have all brown-eyed children because the brown-eyed parent is only giving brown-eyed alleles. The blue-eyed parent is giving blue-eyed alleles, but the brown is dominant. So that means all the children, even though they get half of their DNA from one parent, they're all going to look brown. They're going to have the little b allele, but their phenotype is going to be brown. Now, brown eyes are more complicated than this. It's not just one gene, so there's variations of colors, but this is just to show you an example. These are all dominant traits as well, and then these are recessive. So we're going to look at them in a moment. And sometimes both will be expressed, so you've got red and white, and instead of blending, or instead of one hiding, one being dominant, they're both showing up. We'll get to those later. And sometimes they blend, and that's called incomplete dominance. But for your lab, you're going to just be doing dominant or recessive. Sometimes when when they're both the same dominant allele, or they're both the same recessive allele, we call it homozygous, because homo means the same, and the alleles are the same. When there's one of each, a dominant and a recessive, we call that heterozygous, and hetero means different. Okay, and then when you get a chance, go ahead and watch this. This is a great video that explains Mendel's pea plants. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our lab. I'm going to switch over to my camera, and I made my pennies, sorry Abraham, I made them a little darker so you could see the heads and tails clearly in my camera. And first we need to determine the sex of the baby. So dad is the one that's going to flip. Let's just say that if the dad picks heads, that he's going to give a Y, and if he flips tails, that he's going to be an X. Okay? Mom, remember, mom always gives an X, so it's really not up to the mom. So you're going to hopefully have a partner that can work with you. If you don't have a partner, then you can pretend one of you is mom and one of you is dad. Okay, so I'm going to pretend, I don't have a partner here. I'm going to pretend that this hand is mom and this is dad. And for every trait, mom is going to give one allele at least, and dad is going to give one allele. Okay, but this one, for the sex of the child, is just dad. So I'm going to go ahead and flip. Okay, it's heads, so dad gave a Y. So let's take a look. Okay. For the sex, remember, mom's always going to give an X, dad gave a Y. And actually, dad did not give a Y allele, dad gave a Y chromosome. So for this first one, it's not about alleles. But the sex of the child is going to be XY, and the phenotype is, what is it? Is it a boy or girl? We know that this one is going to be a boy. Okay? So that's how we find out the sex. Now for all the other ones, heads is going to mean dominant, or a capital letter allele, and tails is going to be recessive. So heads is going to be dominant, and tails is going to equal recessive. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. And you're going to be flipping for each of the traits of your baby. Okay, so let's take a look at what traits we're going to be looking at. So I'm going to have my lab here. Okay, you can't, if you don't like what happens to your baby, you can't do it again. That's just the luck of the draw. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and flip our coin for face shape. Okay, so dad is going to give a dominant allele, and mom is going to give a dominant allele. Okay, and if you look, if they both give dominant alleles, that means the baby's genotype is big R, big R. Okay, so the mom gave a big R, and the dad gave a big R. And that means that the phenotype of this baby is round. So her genotype, his genotype, it's a boy, is big R, and the face shape is round. Okay, So I'm going to go ahead and just circle so I can keep track. Okay, and then we're going to keep doing it for all the traits. Okay, this one, Dad gave a big N for chin shape, meaning he has kind of a noticeable chin, and Mom gave a little n, which represents less noticeable. But remember, because noticeable is dominant, this baby's chin is going to be noticeable. So big N, little n, and the phenotype is going to be noticeable chin. Okay, so you're going to keep doing that. We'll do one more, but I won't write it down. Okay, this one is dominant recessive, so capital and lowercase, and that's going to be, so this one was noticeable, and this one is going to be also a big A and a little a. That means it's going to not have a chin dimple. Okay, you know those little dimples in your chin. So I'm going to go all the way down and I'm going to fill in this chart to see what my baby is going to look like. And there's a couple ones at the end that you're going to have to flip twice for. Oh, there's a couple ones at the end where you'll notice, like here, curly and wavy. Let's say I'm going to flip for curly and wavy. Okay, these aren't dominant and recessive. These are actually, okay, so here I have one dominant trait, one dominant allele, and one recessive allele. Okay, but here, under hair curliness, so Dad gave a dominant allele and Mom gave, it's still a capital, so it's another allele, and what happens is they're not curly and they're not straight, but they're sort of in between, they're blended, and so this is called an incomplete dominance, where they sort of blend together. So I'm going to put C1, C2, and my baby's hair is going to be wavy. Okay. So some of them are going to be incomplete dominance, where they blend, where the middle one is a blending of the two other ones. So that looks to be what's happening here, and that's what happens to a lot of our traits. It's not just, we're not just tall or short, we're a blend of a bunch of different genes. Okay, and then here when you get to skin tone, again, it's not that simple, but we'll just pretend it is. Hair color and eye color, notice you're going to have to flip 2 times. You're going to have to flip for the A and you're going to have to flip for the B. So it looks like there's hair color and eye color we call polygenic. Poly means more than one or many, and so there's many genes. We're going to just pretend there's 2. So we'll first flip for the A. So my baby has a big A and a small a. Let me put that here. So the dad gave a big A, and the mom gave a small a, and then I'm going to flip again. Okay, the dad gave another big A. Oh, sorry, this one is going to be for the B's, and the mom gave a little b. So the genotype of this one is going to be big A, big B, little b. We always write the big ones first, the capital letters. So big A, big B, little b. And then we're going to look here to see what is the phenotype of big A, big B, little b. And I see it right here. It's light brown. Okay, so the hair is going to be light brown. Okay, you're going to do the same for the eye color. All right, and then when you finish, you get to draw a picture of your baby. I know you're excited about that part. And you can write the definitions of these terms that hopefully make sense. I think we went over them all, but they will be in the slideshow. Okay, have fun. Ask me, text me, or email me if you have any other questions.